The Joe Rogan Experience.
Good for
Fucking
you.
16 hours to read my own audiobook. I was like,
Oh my God.
fucking I cannot read out loud to save my life.
16 hours?
16
How many
hours.
hours is the actual audiobook?
3.
Whoa. That's crazy.
I am the worst out loud reader. And for like the first 2
Did
chapters.
they get mad if you fuck it up?
Yeah. The guy asked me, like, on the first chapter, he's like, hey, man, do you need glasses? I was like, no, I'm not that good at it. And I was like, I'll do it drunk. Everyone wants to hear me do it drunk. You can't fucking read drunk. So then I had to scrap that day. That day is all useless. We had to go back and redo it.
Ugh.
And then I was also like I'd read a passage and then I'd go on and be like, and then I'd expound on what I just read and kind of I was like a podcast. And that was fucking horrible because that took like forever. And so then finally the guy's like, just fucking read it. So I just read it towards the end, but it gets better.
I would think it would be better if you just read it, and if you fucked up, just comment on the fact that you fucked that word up and just keep going on. Like that way, people they'd get the book, the whole book, but they'd also get the experience of you reading the book, like you separating yourself from the book while you read it.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know what I mean?
Oh, I don't know what it's going to sound like, but because I did acknowledge it. When I did fuck up, because I'm a comic, so I would work the piece as I was like, if I was on stage.
Okay, so did they keep that in, or do they edit that stuff?
They kept, I'd think they kept some of it in, but they couldn't have kept all of it in.
That's so weird, though, that they decide what gets left in and what comes out.
This whole book writing process has been vulnerable as fuck because you really let go of it because it's an entirely different industry.
Yeah, I didn't. I passed. I had a book deal. I was writing the book, and they were giving me these wacky fucking notes, just advice on like how I should talk about things, what I should describe, and how. I was like, this is not happening. You're not involved in the creative process.
Yeah.
You know, and I gave them their money back. I was like, this is crazy. Like, they wanted me to essentially write my act down on paper and sell it as a book. And they're like, well, George Carlin did it and Jerry Seinfeld did it. I was like, that's nice. I don't give a I'm not doing that. Like, that's I write different than I do stand up. It's two different things. Like, you can write. When you're writing, like just writing, there's a way that you can express yourself that's unavailable if you're talking.
Right.
You know?
It's why the Dragon Dictate didn't work for me, because you'd talk it into this Dragon Dictate and it would put it right into the computer.
Yeah.
Like print it. But it didn't work for me because it sounded spoken.
Mm-hmm.
Like it sounded like, and a couple, like, and one of the hard things for me was I did that same thing where they wanted all the stories I had told on stage or on podcasts. I was like, I can't do that. I can't just fill it up with that.
Yeah, they want the stuff that they think they're going to sell. It's not an artistic thing. It's like, guess what, dummy? The same person that told those funny stories, I can tell you other funny stories.
Dude,
like, we're not running out of funny stories here.
It's really fascinating. And like, there's stories I had to put in the book. I had to put the machine in. I can't not write that in there. And there's like the Will Smith story. I had to put it in. But then I wanted to do the cerebral palsy one. I wanted to do one where I met Ralph Sampson. And when I was a kid,
Who's Ralph Sampson?
He was a basketball player, and I went to school I was like in 8th grade. I decided I really want to be a basketball player, and so I went to Villanova basketball camp, and Ralph Sampson came to speak. And like the first night, I got a concussion, and the 2 best basketball players got pulled out for drinking. So the next day, I had to sit out with the 2 best basketball players, and everyone thought we drank together. So now all of a sudden, I'm 15, 14, and everyone thinks I'm cool because I'm partying with the 18-year-olds. So Ralph Sampson comes. I thought this defined me. Ralph Sampson comes up to give a speech. He's like, I'm here to talk to you about 2 things. There's 5,000 kids on the gym floor. He's like, we're going to talk about basketball and we're going to talk about discipline. First, let's talk about discipline. Who in here parties? And I was under the impression we were all going to put our hands up. But I was the only fucking person. I just went, trunk. And he was like, oh, 1 person. 5,000 kids. No one raised their fucking hand. He's like, how do you party? I was fucking 13. I didn't know how to. I never partied in my life, so all I said was Hardy, and he fucking lost it. And 5,000 kids are slapping the gym floor like, oh shit, we're going to make an example out of you, party animal. He's lost the room. So he brings me up front in front of all the kids, and he makes me stand up, and he puts a basketball behind my legs like this, and then one on my arms like this. And he's like, we party hardy. Well, we're going to party hardy today. So I'm standing like this for his whole fucking hour speech with a basketball here and there. And he's like, and he keeps coming back to me. And by the way, I'm so in my head that I have social anxiety disorder, but I'm in front of everyone. And I'm like being made fun. I'm being mocked that I wasn't listening to his questions. Somebody's like, you think you'll ever party again? I just said, yeah. And the fucking place went bananas. They're like, oh, and he's like, how do you party hardy? I was like, and I didn't know the answer. I just was like, with 2 hands. Fucking people are losing. You think you do marijuana? And now I'm killing them. Like, I'll get to it in college. And these kids, I left that gym, and everyone wanted to talk to me. Everyone's like, party animal, what are you doing?
And you're still holding the basketball between your legs?
The whole fucking time.
So while you're cracking jokes?
While I'm cracking jokes.
How long did you hold the basketball?
An hour.
That's a long time.
My cousin Abe, I almost brought him here today. I should have. I didn't even think about it. My cousin Abe was there at the camp because he's from Philly. I didn't know anyone. My cousin Abe's like, I didn't know you partied. I go, I don't. I don't. I just thought we'd all put our fucking hands up. And he's like, yeah, why would you put your hands up if you don't party? I was like, I wanted to be cool. So now, and then everyone would come up and they'd be like, party animal, you partying hardy tonight? I'd be like, yeah. But then I became cool at that camp, and then I have friends. And so I wrote that story as a little longer, and I gave it to them. I go, this is the best story. This defines me. And they're like, not really.
That's hilarious.
So it's all partying stories, but it's like...
That's a hilarious story.
Oh, thanks.
That's so nutty that this could have possibly sent you on a path when you were that young.
Yeah. 13 years old, and it's all just wanting to be accepted. I don't know, did you ever have one of those moments where you'd go somewhere and you didn't know anybody?
Sure.
But you felt like everyone fucking grew up together?
Yeah, that's a weird feeling.
I felt like that a lot as a kid.
Yeah.
But I thought that defined me because then I became the party animal. I kind of lived up to whatever. By the way, I went to high school the very next year, didn't know anyone. So I'm sure that I was like, well, it worked in Villanova. So
yeah, there's definitely different personality that develops when kids have to move too, right? If they move from one spot to another spot, they move more than once. They develop this it's this weird newcomer personality, like in every romantic kids movie, the rebel that moved into town, the new kid.
That you don't know of and you think he smokes cigarettes.
Some fucking Twilight-style movie, or even like Karate Kid. Didn't he move into some new town?
Dude, Karate Kid, the day Karate Kid came out was my first day at tennis camp. And so I gotta fucking can't believe I didn't write about this. I didn't know anyone. I didn't know anyone. So then very end of camp, I started meeting the cool kids, and they're like, "Hey man, what are you doing today?" I was like, "Nothing." And they're like, "You want to go see Karate Kid?" And I didn't know anything about it, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that'd be cool." So cool, meet us at Mission Bell. That's where this place was. My mom's late picking me up. We're late doing everything. She drops me off to the movie late, and I go in, and the movie's already started. I can't find any of the kids, but I already bought the ticket, and I already have popcorn and a drink, and I'm like, fuck. So I just go down, and I sit down. Now, I've never seen a movie by myself at that time. And I just sit down, and I keep looking for them, but I can't fucking find them. But then the movie starts, and it's a great fucking movie. And it's a movie about a loner kid, like myself, that doesn't know anyone, and he's trying to break into the new group, just like I was doing at tennis camp, and I really get involved in it. I get so involved in the movie that when he does the fucking crane kick and kicks the guy, I start bawling fucking crying, thinking, I'm Danielson. In my head, I'm like, I feel like Danielson. The house lights come up, and the fucking kids that had wanted me to meet were sitting directly 2 rows in front of me.
And they heard you weeping?
They heard me crying, and I'm sobbing.
Were you weeping, loud?
Sobbing, like a fucking 10-year-old cry, like if you were 10.
How'd that work out?
They turned around, and they saw me crying, and they were about to make fun of me, and they're like, oh, you got us. We thought you were crying. You fucking with us. You were sitting behind us the whole time. And I was like, yeah, that's it. And I fucking walked out. That movie, I still to this day.
So you had to fake that you weren't crying.
I had to fake that I wasn't crying, and then we all hung out. And they're like, you can just do that? Make yourself cry? I was like...